Welcome back, scribes. I wanted to bring you a review of huge importance. My thoughts on a highly recommended script coverage service called WeScreenplay. Now, if you don't know what screenplay coverage is, let's go over it. Coverage has been known to dash a few dreams, and for beginners, I actually don't recommend it. More thoughts on this later. For anyone else wondering if it's worth it, I'm going to talk about it and its pricing and worth in this video today. Basically, how it's going to build your foundation as a writer. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you for checking out this video. And if you like learning to build up your mentality around writing and want to learn how to use this knowledge as your foundation to create even better writing, push that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any videos. Now let's get into it. I'm going to show you a little bit about the site and then we can get into my review of it. So let's head over to WeScreenplay.com. WeScreenplay has 3 different packages: Classic, Bespoke, and Comprehensive, each at a different price point. Classic at $69.99, Bespoke at $99.99, and Comprehensive at $199.99. Each include slightly different things. Classic includes 72-hour turnaround time, 4 pages of detailed notes, character plot, structure, dialogue, and concept analysis, a pass, consider, or recommend rating, an overall impression that will highlight extra factors like voice, qualitative scores to compare your progress, and your analyst's bio. Bespoke includes the same 72-hour turnaround time, everything that the Classic package has, plus a customized marketing blueprint to analyze how your script accomplishes your specific screenwriting goals, which is great if you want to know a little bit more about how to become a staff writer and if you're on the right path. The Comprehensive includes 72-hour turnaround as well, everything from the Bespoke package, and inline PDF notes throughout the script. Basically, all of the details that you could change to make your script much better. Probably more in the vein of detailed changes that you would likely be getting from the studio. So those are the 3 packages that WeScreenplay offers as far as coverage and notes go. I've also decided to put out a mini episode where I go over how to go ahead and register for this coverage and how to link it to your Coverfly so that you can rack up the points that it gains you and make it onto the red list. What makes a screenplay coverage valuable? Feedback on major areas of the script, useful notes to repair them, and of course, the rating you anxiously wait for, hoping it's going to tell you how industry folks are going to react to your writing. But while coverage is used by many to gauge their writing project, it's instrumental to me on my rewrites. Here's what I thought about the coverage I received for my original pilot, using them for the very first time. 1. It was notes, not critique. I am pleasantly surprised by how I accurately said that the coverage was notes, because in their FAQ section that goes over if they provide coverage or notes, they refer to their coverage as notes, since coverage would actually be the practice of a script reader in Hollywood actually reading your script to either assign a pass, recommend, or consider to your writing for the studio or picture house you submitted to. To be fair, this is just that. It's still coverage, just handed straight to you. Whereas traditional coverage isn't given to you from the studio, it's only for internal use. Notes are usually given by professionals, often producers, or anyone who might have been given a say in your script or the writing process. They're meant to aid in the next rewrite of your script by giving helpful story structure details that can be changed. Critiques are personal choice recommendations, things that I don't consider structural or necessary. They don't impact the story or overall plot. They may seem helpful, but they could just leave you off the path of recovering the script if that's not the issue with it. For me, a good note is improvements on character arc, world building issues, or clarity issues. Which honestly, clarity issues are not exactly a note, but someone telling you there's something wrong. They just can't figure it out. Oftentimes, writers are dreading notes. It feels like we're being told what's wrong with our script and all of the ways that we're falling short. But to me, notes can have critiques in them, but critiques will never be a note. And I have used coverage as benchmarks for my writing and to track improvements. Most recently, the pilot I sent in was the draft 0, and I did this to gauge it and see if my first passes were getting tighter and see where my writing may have been falling short. Remember, I don't submit to competitions anymore for many reasons, some of which you can check out right here. Notes included in mine were things like how to make my main character stand out more, since a secondary character was becoming a lot more interesting. They were able to point out repetitive dialogue and suggested revealing new information in the dialogue that I would include once I removed that repetitive stuff. It's an important note that good notes will fluctuate depending on the reader's experience, so coverage will absolutely change depending on the person. I've had feedback from some that had very different thoughts. One said they would be sitting front row for the film in the future. The other one said it was a repeat of the all too common American dream, which was not my intention with any of the themes. 2. It hit on the right areas. Most feedback or coverage hits major areas of a script. My notes in particular were broken down into the right categories: concept, pilot, structure, characters, dialogue, and overall impression. Each area presented the right sort of information for me to clean up my script. Each different section had its own percentile. It was an interesting data perspective to see where I sat against others, and they broke down this for each category. Just to briefly go over the rating that leads to pass, consider, recommend, know that many received pass anyway, so I wasn't exactly going for a recommend or anything other than that, and this is often because a script is not ready for filming, so if we're still working on something, trust me, one day we will get that recommend, but it'll likely be once it's been shaped and polished and has had more than probably 6 different drafts to it. 3. It was by a currently working writer. One of the cooler aspects of WeScreenplay is that the readers have their own story on the report. It shows that they're seasoned writers and gives you a little bit of information about what they're doing currently. It shows that they really know what they're talking about, because you don't want someone who isn't produced teaching you how to get produced through their notes. I don't discourage taking advice from others because they're not optioned. Let's just be clear. Just be a bit more careful about taking tips from outsiders. It's a learning process, and we're in a biased craft where all opinions are not necessarily all needed. 4. WeScreenplay's grading scale. Back to this. I really like how they broke down into categories the percentiles, and it wasn't a point system. Usually the point system is 1 through 10, and they give you an average score of that number out of 10 for your writing. It was okay, but less impressive than knowing out of how many writers where you fell in the percentile. My final comments, and remember to stick around to find out why I don't recommend coverage to newbies, which is coming up pretty soon, but my final comments are, I loved the feedback I received. I felt like it hit on all the areas that I agreed with. I was open to the notes, and that's half the battle. After doing some more learning on my own, I 100% realized and understood the reader's notes and used them to my benefit to create a stronger script. So all in all, the price point and the formatting of their clean-looking final coverage report was highly desirable. I urge you to check it out, and for that bonus of why I don't recommend it to beginners, simple. You won't need it for a few scripts. You don't need someone to gauge your writing in the beginning. You need yourself. Read your script, and if you don't get bored, you'll see all the flaws and everything that you need to clean up. They'll be structural. Your character doesn't change, or your villain isn't really actively opposing your main character, or you put the 3-act structure up against it and you can't pinpoint every single section of that 3-act structure in your own script. So if you can't get through reading it from pure excitement from one of your first few scripts, you'll need to cut all of the boring stuff out and revamp your script so you can actually sit through it. Because if you don't want to read your brilliant writing, who is? No, seriously, who is? My benchmark is, after you make it through 2 scripts, rewrite 1 and submit it for feedback. You will see a difference as coverage goes on and as you develop your writing, and it's gonna save you money that you can use for courses and books like Writing is Rewriting by Jack Epps Jr. Thanks for sticking with me, scribes, and I'll see you in the future.